And on to our question of the week, sponsored by Condor Darts. Off the back of the Euro Tour at the weekend, another successful event in Belgium, we've asked our listeners where should be the next destination to host a Premier League darts night. The options we've put in our poll are Belgium, a second night in the Netherlands, a second night in Germany, or other. Which one are you going for?
Well, I want to go other because I would love to see a Premier League night come here to the United States one of these years. I don't think it is as unmanageable as it might sound, at least especially if that weekend is like the first weekend of the season. And maybe that's where to go. The weekend to start the season in Las Vegas, bring darts back into the desert. Yeah, okay, it's not going to be as warm in January as it is in July, but it's still nice there in January. And maybe that's a good place to go to get darts back in Las Vegas. Is of course the ADO event there that weekend, which a couple of the tour card holders went and competed in this year. Maybe PDC helping growing North American darts. I mean, obviously with the CDC, but getting a Premier League in North America, a Premier League night would be great. But being realistic, the Premier League is Sky Sports' marquee exhibition. The World Championships is obviously their biggest event over the holidays, and one of the Sky Sports channels mutates into Sky Sports Darts for a fortnight and a half during the World Championships. But the Premier League is their baby, and we've talked to Matt Porter before, and he's mentioned how the schedule is at least partially dictated by what Sky can manage. And when those couple nights they leave the UK, it is a big commitment for Sky to get their entire team and get the entire production and to get the entire event there. So that limits it. But I do think more nights out of the UK should be in the offing in the future. And I could see a second night in Germany. I could see somewhere in Eastern Europe, but that is a longer journey to go on. But I could also see in the long run, why not a night in France or Italy or Spain, Spain has actually, dropped off in terms of having people on tour recently. But France now has 2 tour card holders. Italy has their first tour card holder. Trying to grow the sport and get to one of the other iconic cities of Europe would be a great way to grow the event, to go to Paris one year, to go to Rome another year, because those are marquee cities. And to say you've been there, to say you've had an event there, I think adds something, even if the audience isn't necessarily already there. You certainly will have some people local who will buy up tickets in droves, but you can probably also sell those tickets to people who be like, oh yeah, that would be cool to go to a Premier League night in whatever city. I think taking the Premier League to somewhere where darts isn't quite yet big, but is one of those marquee cities of Europe, is that next move. So I'm going other because I do think one of those marquee cities of Europe, Paris or Rome, Istanbul, Athens, one of those would just be such an iconic place to get a Premier League night. And I think that's something the PDC would like to do to help grow the sport in places where they haven't quite penetrated as much yet. So that's why I'm going other. Although, as I said, I would love it to get to the US once. Be a little easier for me to go if that's the case.
That's a cool idea. And Premier League darts in Paris, Rome has certainly come a long way from 2005 when it was in Doncaster, Colchester, Kidderminster and so on. We're looking at these big arenas now, and we're looking at ways that the Premier League can get even bigger. And yeah, I like that idea of going to some cities, maybe not on darts fans' radar at the moment, but would make an impact and raise a few eyebrows, that's for sure. And looking at our poll at the moment, one of our most one-sided polls for quite some time, I've got to say, and thanks as always to Condor Darts for sponsoring the question of the week. At the moment, the poll on Twitter, 73% of our listeners are going with Belgium, 9% are going with a second night in the Netherlands, 6% are going with a second night in Germany, 12% are going like you, Burton, going with other, and a few of our listeners getting in touch. Archie Shep, 234, I want to see a Bournemouth or Southampton night. DP has said Bahrain, not sure how likely Bahrain is, but Bournemouth, that has been a venue on the Premier League in the past, and this question does stem a little bit from Luke Littler's post-final comments on stage. He said, it's my first time in Belgium. I think there should be a Premier League darts in Belgium. So we've broken our non-Premier League chat on the show this week by talking about the Premier League, although not talking about the players and the matches that are going on each Thursday at the moment. But I think, and you mentioned it about Matt Porter there, when it comes to the Premier League and putting on these nights outside of the UK, taking all of the stuff that you got to take with you, all the cameras, all the equipment, the stage, everything like that, it does bring with it a lot of extra cost. So there does need to be a scenario where the reward is worth it, or it is financially more lucrative for them to take what would probably be one of the nights in the UK to somewhere else. And at the moment, we do have that one night in Germany. We do have that one night in the Netherlands. If it was me in charge, I would be looking at adding another country to that list. And I don't know an awful lot about the different indoor arenas in these countries, but you'd say the most likely would be Belgium or Poland. And you could maybe throw in Hungary, the Czech Republic, Denmark. They've hosted Euro Tour events. Some of them have hosted the World Series as well. But can you imagine a Premier League where it goes to 8 or 9 different countries each season? And I think it would be a big selling point for the Premier League, having those different atmospheres in the different countries. And I think that would attract a lot more viewers to it as well. And we've spoken before about the current format of the Premier League, the same 8 players, the nightly tournament. It does feel quite repetitive watching it at home. And I'd add in the fact as well that the venues, the bulk of them being in the UK and Ireland, a lot of the nights can feel very samey as well with the crowd. So maybe including more countries, branching out, bringing a different vibe to it would attract more people to watch. So I'm not sure how close we are to that new country joining that Premier League map, but if I had to guess, I'm looking at either Belgium or Poland to be the next ones to join that list.